can I ask you some weird questions? It's not dirty, but helpful for our society. Does cramp always need to be cramp? Have you ever thought of the dunk's value while pooping? What if I tell you that the waste you often call worthless could be a solution for one of humanity's greatest challenges? Today, we'll explore the surprising connection between dung, including human dung, and an innovative solution for global poverty. So first, let's talk about poverty. Poverty is all about deficiency. It means someone lacks something. It may lack money, a house, job opportunities, or other kinds of stuff. Some people say that poverty is just because of money. They say that if we give them the money to use, then poverty will be gone. However, this is half right, but half wrong. Indeed, we need money to survive in our society. We need money to consume goods and services in our capitalist world. However, nowadays, the focus on poverty is becoming multidimensional, which means poverty is based on not only on income, but also on life standards, education, health, nutrition, and social network, and so on. By this idea, MPI has used a UNDP report recently. So the MPI, Multidimensional Poverty Index, evaluates deeply whether a person or family is suffering from poverty in the sectors of education, health, and standard of living. Then, what does this matter to them? Well, we have sanitation in the poverty index indicator, and SDG 3, good health and well-being, and 6, clean water and sanitation, is also related to the topic. Dung can pollute the water people drink and the body itself, since it contains various microbes that can negatively affect the human body. Therefore, when proper sanitation is not held, people will suffer from various contaminations and diseases which are usually caused by dung, for example, like typhoid fever. As they're ill, they will become ill and weak, and they will not be able to be in a workplace or school properly, and eventually their work efficiency and education status will be lowered. And by that, they will expect lower income. This is the typical cycle of the extreme poverty trap. Get lesser income, can't work properly, get ill, get weak, and can't work properly, and then get lesser income until the crucial point of death. Then you might think, is dung just a bad thing? Is dung just causing this poverty? Let me tell you a short story that made me think different about dung's value. So when I was 14, I observed dung every day and recorded it in my phone. I got curious about what makes dung, and I found out that the gut microbiome was the key. And I did a little research about the microbiome difference of underdeveloped countries and developed countries. Then I found a shocking research in a book I read, Great Brain by David Palmer, which said that Africans seems to have much healthier gut microbiomes than Europeans. So let's look at this graph above. The blue ones are bacteria, which are good ones and friendly ones, and the red ones are firmicutes, which are bad ones and harmful ones, which cause diseases. So, as you can see in the graph above, Burkinabes seems to have much higher ratios on those bacteria than Italians, which says that Burkinabes, have much healthier gut microbiomes than Europeans. I was shocked. I thought, since people in Africa are suffering from poverty, they'll not be able to afford those sanitized products. Of course, over half of the people in sub-Saharan Africa are suffering from poverty. However, their diet was based on vegetables, since they cannot afford meat. On the other hand, Europeans tend to consume more meat than Africans, and that led to the difference of microbiomes, having unhealthy microbiomes than Africans. Then I thought, can't we use those good microbes in those rich microbiomes and their rich dung as the solution for poverty? Can't we use dung now as the remedy for poverty? I was now changing the connection between dung and poverty as a cause and now to a solution. And the next question I thought was, but how? How can I make this happen? How can I make this possible? And I took a little time thinking of it, and got the conclusion of energy. The key point was energy. People who suffer from poverty don't have access to stabilized electricity and gas. However, dung can make them use those stabilized energy because dung can now be converted into various types of energy to use. In the process, they get to use those biodigesters, and people get to put their dung, their human feces, and those animal dung, such as cow dung, for example, and those dung break other organic materials into other components, and by the process, gases come out. And the gas contains methane, and that methane is a huge energy source for people to use as gas or other kinds of energy type. Also, the leftovers can be used as fertilizer for the soil and enhance the productivity of the farmland. So I looked for the real implementation of this idea, and I found two in our world. So first is in Haiti. So in Haiti, of the 11.58 million people living there, less than a third have access to basic sanitation. And about 60% of people living there, they're suffering from poverty and don't have access to quality food. And this leads to the exposure of waterborne illnesses. However, they have the non-profit organization called SOIL, S-O-I-L, Sustainable Organic Integrated Livelihoods. And that community manages the local sanitation and hires local workers, and most importantly, changes human dung into compost. By doing so, they're able to enhance the employment, sanitation, and also the productivity of the farmland. And the next example is in Mexico. In Mexico, they have the firm called Sistema Bio, and that firm sells biodigesters to people. With the cost subsidized by the microlending platform Kiva, people get to pay off their costs for 2 years, and machine lasts for 30 years. What a benefit. And by doing so, farmers are able to reach to the biodigesters easily and use them easily as their energy source. And they were able to use their own dung and their cow dung, animal dung, to the chance to have their warm baths for the first time and cook on their stoves. In conclusion, the link between dung and poverty may not seem obvious at first, but it is significant. By using dung as a resource, I was able to find an innovative solution for global poverty. However, you might need more research and experiments for the real implementation of this idea. Even so, you must look beyond traditional approaches and look for unconventional solutions like I did with the dung. By doing so, you might find creative solutions for global poverty. Let us work together to make a real difference in the fight against poverty, like I did with the dung, by changing problems into solutions, for example. Even a crab can change the world. Thank you.